People come to live in residential aged care not by choice, and we need to be very humble and mindful of that. People are choosing residential aged care because they have to. Their families can no longer look after them, a loved one has passed away. All of those things are factors that lead people to needing to be in a communal living environment with clinicians.
Welcome to another episode of the Back in My Day podcast, Navigating Aged Care series. In this episode, I got to speak to Lucy, who is the CEO of Columbia Aged Care Services. We had a great chat. We talked about her leadership style, but most importantly, the amount of feedback she gets from residents, families and staff to make sure their facility keeps improving all the time. It was a great chat. Hope you enjoy it. Please like, comment and share. Thanks so much, Lucy, for coming on the podcast, our Navigating Aged Care series. So you're the CEO of Columbia Aged Care with 3 facilities.
Correct.
Awesome. So I was just going to dive into some questions, if that's all right.
Absolutely.
So your career journey, can you share what led you into aged care and take on the position of CEO of Columbia Aged Care? It's
an interesting spaghetti junction of stories, but effectively I worked in the community sector for a very long time prior to coming into the aged care space, and I worked with a national charity and worked in sort of child safety and disability and mental health spaces, and I loved what I did. I absolutely loved it, and I had an amazing boss who wasn't going anywhere. So I made the decision to exit the business because I couldn't go through him, so I had to go around him. Yeah. And
did you learn a lot from that person?
Oh, huge amount. It's so important to have mentors, and he is still a very treasured mentor for me.
Yeah, that's great.
And when I was looking to find out what my next opportunity might be, there was a role advertised of a CEO of a community organisation. It turns out it was quite deliberately not advertised as an aged care provider because of a perception. People wouldn't apply for it.
Right.
And for me, it was an interesting full circle because when I was younger, my grandmother used to take me and my brother after church on a Sunday, and we would go and help the oldies, which were probably about 20 years younger than she was. We spent many of our Sundays mowing lawns, doing shopping, bits and pieces. And I remember them being really fun times. I only used to go to church because I got lollies afterwards, but it was one of those kind of full circle moments. This is kind of where I started enjoying helping others, and that was real community work. So for me, it was about, I get to be in a space again where I have got the most exciting job, because who else as a CEO can walk out into the workplace and actually sit and have a chat with elders who've got fascinating lives and have experienced so many things and have got so much wisdom. So it's been a lovely full circle.
This is how the podcast started, with us me interviewing aged care residents, and it's exactly like you said. It's so amazing to hear their stories and hear how it was back in the day, and really enjoyable. So
absolutely,
to that. Yeah, and then ending up as CEO here, it was.
So I spent about 10 years in Tasmania.
Right.
I'm very proud to work with the frontline teams that I've had the opportunity to do that with. But after 10 years. Sort of 10 years is about the right time, in my view, for a CEO to look at changing the guard.
And it's a decent stint, yeah.
It's a decent stint, but it's also important to keep fresh thinking, to get new perspectives on where a business is going, particularly a community organisation. And we had just finished the Korongi development, the dementia village in Tasmania. So it had been fully accredited, and that was, for me, the right time.
Yeah.
And then I thought I'd get out of aged care for a little bit, so I went and worked in Victoria as a CEO of a psychiatry and psychology business.
Right.
A colleague asked me to come and help them sort of sort out the infrastructure of the business. So interesting times. It was just at the time when we went into another lockdown in Victoria. So a job that was going to take 6 months took 3.
Wow. Yeah.
And then I was approached to consider coming back into the aged care sector. So given the huge impact that COVID had on, residents, families, providers and leadership, it took me a minute to think about whether I could come back, whether I could give my all to another organisation. And meeting the board members here and the families that started Columbia, they're an amazing crew. They have absolutely an aligned values framework, and the right ethos that for me means that we can really collaborate and work together. And they were really committed to staying in the industry and to making a positive difference, and were open to innovation, different ideas, doing things differently. So for me, it was the perfect fit.
Yeah.
In my conversations with them, I said, I'm not looking for a job, I'm looking for an adventure. I'm not looking for an employer, I'm looking for a partner.
Yeah.
And they were absolutely, yep, that fits the brief. Let's go for it. So I've had just under 4 glorious years here at Columbia.
Has it been an adventure?
Absolutely been an adventure. Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's kind of, those books where you create your own adventure. You go, if this happens, go to the next chapter or whatever it is. It's been a little bit like that, but we've been spending time looking at making sure the foundations of the organisation are solid, and that's around processes. It's about reform so that we've been ready for the aged care changes. It's about making sure we're contemporary in what we do so that we're working smarter, not harder. So it's been a hell of an adventure.
Oh, that's great. Did it end up being, was the industry very different after COVID?
Interesting question. Yes and no. No in terms of what it is we deliver.
Yeah.
Yes in terms of the industry took a fair beating through the media, through criticism that wasn't always warranted.
Because unlike the media?
The actions of a few tarnished the whole. And I think what it has done is it's brought us together as an industry. The level of collaboration, the level of support overtly for each other is much more evident.
Yeah.
So I think it's done some positive things, but it has changed the way in we look at risk, both internally and externally. It has changed the level of compliance that's now in our spaces and how we have to manage compliance as part of business as usual. The changes through COVID have largely been an administrative one for us in terms of how we assure the funder, being government, the customer, being the consumer, and the public, that we do have good safeguarding in these spaces.
Yeah, so a lot of paperwork, but trying to balance that with doing the good stuff.
Absolutely, yeah.
Awesome. Okay, just moving on to team engagement. How do you motivate and empower your team to deliver consistent, high-quality care?
It's something that we do through the everyday conversation, but then we have, I guess, targeted approaches. So we've got 3 facilities all over New South Wales. So part of that is about coming together and making sure we have that shared understanding of where we're going, but also how we're going to do that. That's not to prescribe things, but it's about having a shared vision so that nuances of different communities where we work, allowing strategies to be adapted for those communities and reflective of what's needed. But coming together is really important. We have a strategic plan. We've just launched our 2024-2029 strategic plan, and that's been created through a lot of consultation. The residents who live with us, with families, with staff, and the communities in which we operate in, to be clear that as a residential aged care provider, we sit in a community and we provide a service, but there's also those interconnecting relationships we have with health, allied health, local community. We have a service in Oberon. We have, the butcher and the chemist, and we provide a lot of business. So we need to make sure that we don't do things that may have unintended consequences. So coming together to be able to understand that through that consultation has allowed us to build a vision, and it's about being a provider of choice, employer of choice, but not just the words. It's what does it actually mean, and sort of sense testing that stuff, and then catching up as a leadership team, making sure staff have the opportunities to talk about what we do and how we do it, rather than just education sessions that are largely about ensuring they've understood rules, regulations, best practice, etc. It's actually allowing white space to have the debate and have the discussion.
I think it's great you talked about involving the residents, the families, the staff. Do you think that's typical? Or do you think some organisations maybe just get the senior management in a room and they decide?
I see more and more true collaboration. I don't know that we can do this authentically without the consumer voice, and I know that the consumer voice whilst I'd like to think after 16 years we've always considered the consumer voice, I think how we articulate that and demonstrate that's probably shifted. So I think there's a much part of the compliance that we have to meet these days is about demonstrating how we've engaged consumers. So I think how we develop plans and strategies and ideas, we've always included the consumer, the resident or the family, but we now actually document that this is how we've done it. So I think it's probably becoming more evident of how we do that these days.
I love what you said there as well as about the community. I guess people don't really think about that as much. You think that just an aged care facility is just there in a town, but don't realise that impact it does have on all of the local business and the people around. So.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we've got, the service we're in at the moment, Strathfield, we're really close to the train station. So we have to be mindful of, if we want a workforce, we have to think about how they're going to and from work and their safety. We have to think about, communities like Oberon. There's no public transport. There's one taxi in town. So when we're recruiting, we need to be really clear about, how are you going to get to and from work safely? What does that look like?
What to think about.
Absolutely. Yeah. What are the schools like? If they're moving to Oberon, how do we help people to actually settle into the town to feel that sense of community?
Have you had a lot of people move to Oberon?
We have. We engaged with the Australian Labour Agreement, the Commonwealth enabled, and we've got about 10 staff who we're sponsoring, only for our Oberon service because it's a thin market. But there's about 5 or 6 out of the 10 who've achieved their sponsorship. We're waiting for, there's a 90-day time frame, so they applied at different times. But it's been really fantastic to see those individuals be able to, some take their families up there. We bought a house up there, so accommodation in Oberon is really challenging, so we gave them a bit of a head start to be known in the community and sort of get to work out what parts of town they might want to live in, et cetera, et cetera. So, really, really engaged, and it's lovely to see them settled.
So this is all the fun adventure stuff you talk about, because as you talk about, I can see your face lighting up. You obviously enjoy that. There's all the things to think about. And
absolutely.
Yeah, you can see that. That's great. A question on resident experience. What programs, initiatives or policies have you seen or implemented that improve resident experience?
Resident experience is an interesting one because often people will go to the independent resident experience survey that is done once a year by independent people, which I think is fundamentally flawed.
Doesn't tell the real story. It's
a point in time, and the independent people can only assess those that are cognitively able to. And you look at the number of residents, it's about 80% of our residents live with cognitive impairment, whether it's through dementia or other conditions. So it's a very limited pool, and therefore the results are not always truly reflective of what we do and how we do things. So it's about, we engage, we have food focus groups. So we sit with our residents and their families once a quarter to review the menu that's coming up. We have residents meetings all the time. Our chefs turn up, our maintenance teams turn up. We want to, in a collective environment, give people an opportunity to say, look, can we try something else? Can we, either the light in my room isn't working, or can we, get the brightness up in the corridors, whatever it might be. There's those sorts of conversations. We've also got QR codes around the facility and forms. So if residents or families want to give us feedback anytime, either saying who they are or anonymously, absolutely can do that. We've got a range of activities that we do that are very culturally appropriate, or culturally specific, I should say. So at one of our facilities, we have a lot of mahjong because it's representative of the community that lives with us. In another, we've got a lot of art classes. There's a smattering of different things across these groups, but in the activities, there's also the conversations. It's, you're sitting there painting, what's going on, how are you? If you could do something that you're not doing, what would it be? So
again, it's just listening to the consumer and their families and just getting the feedback and acting on it.
Absolutely. And we do, pretty common in aged care, but we use the sunflower approach, which is when a resident moves in, it's literally a picture of a sunflower. It's the person in the middle, and then all the petals represent who am I.
I've seen that before, actually.
It's a way of a person being able to enter a room and very quickly get a sense of what kind of conversations can I have, or a little snapshot. Particularly useful when, we have to use agency staff. It gives them a very quick snapshot of who a person is. of course, they've got the clinical records that has a lot more detail, but it's that, 2-second rule of I can have a quick look and get a sense of it, enough to be able to say, hey, Lucy, my name's such and such. I see you like such and such. Let's have a conversation about it. So it's creating opportunities for staff to be able to connect, teaching them about customer service. So teaching them, they've done their qualifications, whether it be a registered nursing degree or whether it's a Cert 3, Cert 4 in individualised support. But it's about saying, so now you have the skills, let's talk about the soft skills. Let's talk about how do you engage with someone, particularly if they're not be able to verbally communicate. It's how to actually understand non-verbal communication, how to be able to interact with someone whose language is not English or language is something they struggle with. So it's really how to be able to engage, not necessarily through the spoken word.
So does that make aged care unique then? Because like you said there, it's, we think of aged care as just all about the clinical side and caring for people. But it sounds like actually it's more important that everyone can have that connection and make people feel it's more like I guess I've heard it before, more like a hotel type customer service job.
Is moving much more towards that. I've said, I'm on public record, I've said I don't think residential aged care will exist in the same way it does now in 10 years' time.
Yeah.
And I say that because if we look back 10 years, it was a very different industry. People come to live in residential aged care not by choice. And we need to be very humble and mindful of that. People are choosing residential aged care because they have to. Their families can no longer look after them. A loved one has passed away. Their mobility or their ability to actually, take medications at certain times or get assistance for personal sharing, all of those things are factors that lead people to needing to be in a communal living environment with clinicians. Yeah. So I always say a home-like environment, communal living where you have a safe place to live, safe place to sleep, you've got good healthy food, we do your washing for you, we give you options of activities and so forth, and we happen to have nursing staff here. I always look at that as that's a 101. Yep, that's a ticker box.
That's a given, isn't it? Having the actual clinical care is a given. It's more, I think as we talked just before we started, it's more about the experience for the person at the end of their life and making sure you make it as best you can.
As soon as a resident moves in, we don't sit there saying, can you tell us about your pills? Can you tell us about your diagnosis? Because we've already got that before you've moved in. Yeah. We're like, tell us about yourself, tell us about your life, tell us about your history. So it's about understanding the person and making sure if someone has to live in a residential aged care environment, how do we help them with that transition and really show the heart of who we are, which is, I would say, the vast majority of care workers, whether they be registered nurses, enrolled nurses or frontline care staff, or receptionists or maintenance or cleaners.
Yeah, all matches.
They do this job because they love the communal living spaces. They love getting to know residents. They love making a difference. It's not the clinical side of things. We don't we try and deinstitutionalise our environment so that they don't feel clinical.
Yeah.
But we can provide clinical and we do it very well, but it's just something we do.
And like you said before we started filming, it's a privilege to be, a part of that person's life at the end.
Absolutely. And I'll digress for a moment, if I may. There's many moments in the last 16 years that I look back on and go, wow, that was huge. And there was one, I think it was last Christmas, we had a resident who'd been living with us for quite some time, an elderly lady, and she was end of life stage. And it was the Christmas carols were going around. So we had a group of staff that were singing and there was a few sort of small choir that was with us, and of course everybody joins in. And the resident's daughter came out to us and said, can we sort of come close to Mum's room? She loves hearing Christmas carols. And we're like, absolutely. So there was, I can't tell you, probably wasn't work health safety, but we all piled into her room and we sang Ave Maria to her. Yeah. And none of us knew we could sing, but it sounded beautiful. And the resident was peaceful and smiling and the daughter was crying. And it's moments like that where you go, that doesn't happen in a hospital. That doesn't happen every day. That is a unique residential experience where when it matters, we're there. We're there for those moments that make a huge difference.
Yeah, that's really special, isn't it? And Yeah, again, you don't want to come into a place where it's all very structured, and you want those unique and unexpected moments that make a difference.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
One of the activities rooms is right upstairs from my office. It's one of our lounge rooms. Whenever they've got something dancing or like music or whatever it is, it's the first opportunity for me to go, right, I'm going upstairs, and you'll hear people will just...
So you can hear it from...
You can absolutely hear it.
So you're not banging on the ceiling saying, oh, keep it down up there.
Absolutely not. I'm like, opportunity for a break, come on. And, doesn't matter where you are, there's this sense of, there's something exciting going on. So everybody sort of gathers and, has a dance with the residents, gets them up, and you see the smiles. And I always say the biggest KPI any staff member here at Columbia has is how many smiles have you been responsible for?
Yeah, that's great. A great way to look at it. Yeah, that's great. That's awesome. One on reflection, how has your own leadership style evolved over your career in aged care?
A lot. So if I look at 15, 16 years ago when I came into the industry, I came in with a perception of what leadership was. And I am, at the core of me, someone who cares about people and wants people to have every opportunity to be their best. I think over the years, how I've demonstrated that has changed. And as a CEO, it's challenging sometimes because you have the responsibility of setting a tone, setting an example, and you try your very best to make sure that that's communicated and articulated. And I think when I was early in my career, I possibly didn't know how to communicate that as clearly as I do now. There's a confidence you need to have. It's monkey see, monkey do. If you look worried, other people worry. If you are excited, others are excited. If you are enthusiastic, others are enthusiastic. So leadership is not just in the words that you say, it's the way in which you say them. It's the moments in between. It's walking through a facility. It's walking out to the car and staff seeing you. It's being really mindful that your presence has an impact, and you need to be cognizant that, if you're in a bad mood or something's gone wrong, people are going to pick up on that. So I think humility has been something I believe I've always had, but I think I've found ways to demonstrate that more.
Yeah.
I think it's also taught me that if I'm asking people to be upfront with me about if they've made a mistake, I need to be upfront with them about I've made a mistake. So we have a very transparent culture of talking about what's worked, talking about what doesn't work. We've had times where we've put things into play with all the best of intentions and it's just gone pear-shaped. Yeah. But, in my later years as a CEO, I'm now the first person to say, look, that just didn't work. And I'm really sorry for the chaos it created or for the unintended consequences. But you know what? We stuffed up. Yeah. Let's go back to the drawing board. Let's have another go at it. And, we always come out better.
That's all I hear about when I listen to a lot of business podcasts and that kind of stuff, and they always talk about the importance of failing because that's what helps you move forward.
Fail fast.
Yeah, and you have to do that. And they always talk about the people that fail the most actually end up in the best spot because they learn all the time.
And there is nothing wrong with failure. Failure means that you tried.
Yeah, and
if you don't try, that's failure.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. And on your point there as well about that responsibility of you setting the tone as the person at the top there, I remember another one talked about whatever's going on in your life, almost pick a point on the way into work where once you get to that point, everything that is going on in your life doesn't matter. You put that game face on and you're that person once you walk into that door at work. I think that's good advice.
So it was this is way before I became a CEO, when I was an executive in another organisation prior to that. Someone explained to me about the backpack. You grab your backpack on your way into work, and that's your work mode. Yeah. And then when you get home and you drop it off, that's you. So I physically have a backpack that I bring to work with me every day that's kind of the tone setting in my brain is I'm at work. I'm in work mode now.
It's amazing these simple things that they're so important, aren't they? That you learn over time to do.
Absolutely.
Be a better manager and show up more. And
absolutely. Yeah. And I think for me, what's been important in my CEO career is I was given loads of opportunities from mentors, previous people I reported to, and I've been able to take, the good, the bad and the ugly and pick and choose, okay, that I can see that didn't work or that wouldn't work for me. So it's about continuously learning, but also then sharing and passing it on. I'm a massive advocate for mentoring, and anyone that's been in my executive team, I'm always trying to create opportunities, because if I sit in the role of CEO and think I'm the only person that can do it, I'm arrogant. You need to think about, someone did it before me and someone will do it after me. So how do you actually connect the dots and help someone who wants to step in your space, help them to be able to do that, give them the right exposure, give them the right introductions, tell them the truth about the tough decisions you have to make. And you're not always going to be popular, but often you're not popular because you have to stand very firm on conduct, on ethics, and preserving the rights of the residents to have a good life and be treated with respect and dignity. And if I haven't found favour with some people because we've had to make bad decisions, I'm actually okay with that.
I think it's the hardest thing for most people. I think it has been for me as well. I think most of us want to be liked. And I think when you get into that leadership role with that not wanting to rock the boat or upset people is what people find most challenging, is trying to get past that and be candid and do the right things. I
don't mind if people don't like me. I want people to respect me. So for me, it's about making decisions that can be respected. So I'm known to be fair. I'm also known to give people chances, but people always know where they stand with me. And that's one of the first conversations with my leadership team. We always talk about, you'll always know where you stand with me. You may not like what I have to say, but it's about expectation. If you don't set expectations, how can you possibly expect people to know where they're going? So that's all of that communication and bringing people together. I've got a great leadership team, and we've got shared understandings of what it is we're trying to do here, and having that transparent conversation means they're given the opportunity to evolve and develop in whichever areas they want to, but also it means that we can have very respectful conversations.
Yeah, I think all of us, if we look back at the best leaders we've had, it's those ones that weren't scared to tell us how it is, and anyone that sort of just, because you tell you what you want to hear, then you're not going to develop, you're not going to improve yourself, so it's so important.
And it all needs to be done with kindness. I mean, at the end of the day, if you have a tough message to give, it needs to be safe, it needs to be humble, it needs to be kind.
Yeah. Awesome. It's been such a great chat. I've got one more question for you, if that's okay. What advice do you give families navigating aged care and finding the right options?
I think navigating aged care is one of the most complex things you could possibly do. I've worked in the industry for 15 years, and I still would say there's no simple way of explaining how it works. I think, importantly, if you're looking for residential aged care, I think about where is going to work for you location-wise. Often families will try and find somewhere in the community that their loved ones were, but they may live hours away. So balance, and I'm not saying one is right or wrong, but think about, is the community that your loved one lived in, are there really strong connections? Are there ways of keeping your loved one connected to that community? Because if there aren't, does that mean locating them somewhere closer to you so that you are that connection? It's a difficult decision. I think once you walk in the door and you feel it's got the right vibe for you, go at lunchtimes, go in the mornings, go when there are things happening so you can sort of see how do things work. And once you think you found the right provider, talk to the provider. We are more than happy to help you navigate. There's a lot we can't do for you, but we can certainly parallel that journey with you to help you understand what's got to be done. There's a lot of paperwork to be done. I would say, often people come into residential aged care and it's not a planned thing. So a lot of things are kind of last minute. Talk about respite. There's an opportunity sometimes to do a respite stay to sort of see how your loved one and you like it, but also buys a little bit of time to get, the settling paperwork in, et cetera, but talk to providers, because, we're here to help.
Also, that's really sound advice. Thanks so much for coming on the podcast. It's been really interesting to hear about you and Columbia and the advice for people as well.
Absolute pleasure.